Hello again, modelers. Today I want to show you how I fit the Mick Reeves fork ends to this Orca Fury. I'm doing the rigging wires on it, and I must confess it's an area I've not done before, so you'll have to forgive me as I struggle through this. But so far it seems to have gone okay, so I thought I'd just show you quickly how it is that I use them. Okay, let's get started. Before we go any further, I'll just show you what you get with the Mick Reeves fork ends. Okay, so in the packet, or the fork ends themselves come as pairs. Okay, so you get two Phillips screws, M2s. You get two locking nuts, again M2. You also get two small Phillips screws, which are designed to thread through the end of the fork end, and they attach the fork end to the model, okay, onto your anchor point. Now, the clever thing with these fork ends is they may look the same, but they are not. Okay, hopefully that you can see the end of that. This is the swiveling end. It just spins and allows the rod to turn. Doesn't adjust anything, just swivels. Okay, so with this end you take the Phillips screw and you just slide it in through the end, it goes down, and it goes into the head of the screw, goes down into that hole. Okay, and then the whole assembly looks like that. Okay, and what you do is you solder that bit to your wire. Okay, and then the wire is free to spin without adjusting the length. Okay, now before, and don't fall into this trap, before you go any further, the first thing you have to do, I'm sorry if you're not getting this, is you have to add the lock nut, because you can't add it later, so don't forget. Okay, that is now ready to be soldered at one end of your piano wire rigging. Okay, now if we look at the other piece of piano wire, the other fork end in the pair, let's come back a bit, see if we can get it focused. You'll see that one has not got a hole for the head of the Phillips screw in the end of it. Okay, so with this one, the Phillips screw is now fitted to the threaded end. So the other one isn't threaded, to the threaded end, and goes in. Okay, and then it stops. That is now ready to use as well. This one, you'll get about 1/4 of an inch of travel before it just falls off. Okay, so what I tend to do is, again, don't get caught out, because you can't do this afterwards, and you'll have to unsolder it. So the first step is to fit the locking nut. Okay, then thread the fork end onto the locking nut till it stops. Wind onto the threaded nut, bolt rather, until it stops. Wind the lock nut all the way up, grip this tight, and then undo it without the lock nut spinning until it goes very loose, and you'll see it's come off. So do it up, couple, and you'll see you've got about 1/4 of an inch of thread there. Now I always make my rigging wires to that length, and then I can shorten them, because you're always going to want to tension. So you may not tension them all the same amount, but you're never going to need less. So I always set it to that minimum point there, then I wind my lock nut all the way out till I hit that and then I lock it just finger tight. Now it won't move. So that is now set. And this end, the head of the Phillips screw, is now where we attach the solder, silver solder, and attach the piano wire to. Okay, so that's how they work. Really simple. Okay, before we get started, I'm just going to show you what sort of setup I've got here. I've used a vise, because obviously we're going to be working with heat here, so you can't be holding stuff. And then into the vise I've put a crock clip. I've just clamped it tight. This allows me to just place the fork end straight into the vise, into the grip of that. It just holds it nice and firmly, but it doesn't crush it. What you've got to be really careful of is if you put the fork end in the vise and wind it up, you can actually close the fork end up, and then when you try to put the screw through, the thread no longer will match, and it'll be really stiff. So just be careful you don't grip the fork end across the flats. Okay, so I'm across the rounded edges of it, so I'm not closing up the thread. Okay, for silver soldering you can't just use any old blow lamp, it won't get hot enough. Okay, so what I've got here, I don't know whether you can see it, this is a butane propane mix. Okay, 2175 butane propane mix gas from Go Systems. It's getting a little bit low now. I need to get some more, but it's been really useful, really good, and it certainly gets hot enough. Okay, so one of the things you have to watch when you're doing this is that you don't heat up anything to cherry red. The idea is you don't anyway. Because I'm doing it with 22 gauge piano wire, it's quite difficult, I should say, to not get it to cherry red, but that's the object of the exercise, is not to get it too hot, because obviously it weakens the metal. Okay, so let's get started. So the first stage, I'm zoomed in on that now, I hope you can see it. It's fairly straightforward and very quick. So you'll need your solder, which you should be able to just about see there. That's the solder. You need your flux, which I think is a borax type flux. I can't really get it in shot, I'm afraid. I don't know why it doesn't want to go in, but anyway, that's the borax flux. So what you do, get your fork end, the bit you're going to solder to, stick your end of the tongue on it, simple as that, dip it in the borax, and that's what you end up with. Anyway, there you go. You see the borax is stuck to the tip of the fork end screw. So then I'm going to pop it into the crocodile clip. Just hold it still. Okay. And then hopefully you'll see all this without me talking, because it'll get quite noisy when I fire up the blow lamp. Okay, let's see how it goes. And it all happens quite quickly. And there we have it. So I hope you saw what happened. I played the flame onto the bolt, the borax melted and it bubbled a little bit. I touched the solder to the hot end, it melted, and then kept the heat on for a bit longer, and that solder flowed. And I hope you can see there is now a blob on the end of blob of solder. Okay, so that bit is now done and is quite hot. Okay, so now we have to do the other end as well. So again, a bit of a dip on your tongue. Clip it into the end. And there you go. It's as easy as that. Now you do the same thing to the piano wire, and then I'll show you in a minute anyway. You simply introduce the tinned piano wire to the tinned bolt, heat them both. Once the solder flows between the two, just hold it in place, turn the heat off, and just wait for a few seconds while it cools, and the job is done. Okay, but I'll show you that bit in a minute. Okay, so all we have to do, bring the piano wire that's already tinned close to the tinned fork end. When the solder flows between the two, the job is done. Hold it straight, blow on it a little bit, and there you have it. One attached fork end. Now if you get it slightly bent, you can put it all back in this, heat it up again, just gently move it while the solder's soft, and get it a bit straighter. That one's alright actually, that's straight enough for me. You know, bend the piano wire, that's hot. You can bend the piano wire a little bit. Okay, but that's one end now ready to go. So I'll quickly do the other end. I'm just going to get some flux on one end of the piano wire. Just going to hold it in my little clamp. Do that end, release the clamp, get my other fork end that's pre-tinned, whack it in there, and there we go again. See how easy that is? That's how it should go. And now you have fork ends attached to a nice piece of piano wire, and that should take easily £30 worth of pull. Okie dokes, thanks.